Okay, so that was quite the video, that last one, right? But now you know all the buttons and stuff, so when you see me moving about on my screen and I'm not saying anything, you know what buttons I'm pressing. Although I didn't show you all of them, we didn't talk about actual sewing. But I figured it'd be better to do it in this tutorial than the last one because I have to show you how it works, right? So I might as well show you how to make clothes and how to sew at the same time. So what we're going to do is make the traditional Mighty Ginkgo t-shirt pants combo. And I say traditional because I do this in every single video where I'm teaching you how to use Marvelous Designer. This is for a reason. Not only because it is lazy of me, but by doing this, you learn the pretty much basics of making clothes in Marvelous Designer. Because once you learn how to make a t-shirt and a pair of pants, you can pretty much make 99% of all garments, excluded from some dresses and certain skirts. So let's talk about how clothes are made in Marvelous Designer. Well, to begin, Marvelous Designer is a clothes making simulation. It was originally designed back for tailors to test out their patterns in the 3D space and cut out the middleman and save them money. So that way, when they like, hey, I created a new pattern, I wonder if this worked, they didn't have to send it to the factory and get a sample made. They can test their patterns out in a 3D environment and see how it works, make adjustments, print out the pattern, and then recreate their garment in real life. However, some 3D nerds saw that and was like, oh, we can use that to make clothes for our games. And thus they did. So Marvelous Designer actually focused away from that original concept of being a tailoring tool and more towards being a 3D creator tool. A 3D designing tool. I had an argument with somebody over calling this a creation tool. So, with that said, if you have any skills in sewing, like knowing how to make patterns for clothes, you can apply that pattern knowledge in here and create clothes that you have in real life. You can even put in patterns that you bought or digital ones or something like that. That's something that you picked offline and put it in Marvelous Designer and trace that pattern and make clothes, recreate clothes that you have in real life and doing that. I don't know how to do that because I don't know how to read patterns. Besides being a seamstress apprentice in real life, an apprentice seamstress, I still haven't learned how to read patterns yet. So I wouldn't be able to tell you how to do that properly without setting your computer on fire. But all is not lost because Marvelous Designer is a smart program. So for the most part, all you have to do is draw the shape of the garment that you want. It fills in the blanks and pretty much creates a shirt or the garment for you. Again, excluding some dresses and some skirts. So you can pretty much create anything in here and just draw the shape of it and then push and pull it with the points and then you make your shirt. Make your garment. So that's why I say once you learn how to make a t-shirt, you can pretty much get the feel of Marvelous. It will all click and you can make any garment that you want. Once you know the basics, and the basics is a t-shirt and a pair of pants, which is what I'm going to teach you right now. So to start, we're just going to zoom in, roll our mouse wheel in and zoom in on the silhouette of our mannequin here, our dummy. And we're going to select the Polygon, Create Polygon tool. Now the first dot you're going to create is going to be right here on our fold line or center line. I call it that because, you know, this is where you fold your pattern over, which we're going to do later on. And you'll see it and be like, ooh, it folded. At least that's how I did when I saw it the first time. Anyway, so what we're going to do is that we're going to determine where we're going to place the first dot on our seam line. Our center line. And you're going to start at how deep you want your neckline to be. Since this is just a t-shirt, we're going to start somewhere around here, around the neck, like just below the neck. And that's going to be our first dot. Then we're going to go up left to the collar. And then we're going to go down to the shoulder, like just start across the shoulder. And the next dot is going to be how long you want your sleeves to be. Since it's just a t-shirt, we're not going to make it that far, like right here. And the next dot is going to be how tight you want it against the arm. Then we go underneath the armpit. Then how long you want your shirt to be. Then we're going to go right back to the center line. And then we're going to close the pattern off by going back to the first dot. Oh, my Discord. Ignore it. Now, I don't like how the sleeves is flaring up a little bit, so I'm just going to use the edit pattern tool and then make it a little more T-shaped instead of being a Y shape. So, T-shape. And once we have it there, we're just going to select our edit pattern. And I'm going to, oh, hang on, let me check that. Sorry about that. Okay, so like I was saying, we're going to take our white arrow here, and you're going to right click, go to the center line, and you're going to right click on this, and you're going to select unfold. So now we have both halves of our t-shirt, and we're going to delete this middle dot here because we don't need it. So then once we have the front of our pattern, we're just going to right click, press copy, and then right click and press paste. Or you can do Control C and then Control V. Now it's not showing up in the 2D window, and that's because we don't have the sync button on. Now we have the sync on, we're good. Now because this is so blindingly white, I'm going to just add some color here real quick so that you guys can keep seeing the pattern. Woof! Ow! God dang, sis, some colors. Okay, that's a neutral color. Alright, so there we go. Now because we don't want to dip in the back of our t-shirt, we're just going to delete this middle button right here, and this will make it straight. And if you're not cool with the triangular collar, just hang on, we're going to fix that when we start sewing. So before we sew, we need to actually put our front and our back of our garment where they belong. The front and the front, and the back and the back. Now when you're making clothes in Marvelous Designer 2, I'm not sure if they fixed this in later Marvelous Designers, you need to flip your pattern so that the fabric is showing the right side is on the right side and the wrong side is on the wrong side. Because if we were to take this back pattern and just put it behind our avatar like this, it'll be invisible in Second Life. So we need to flip it around. So just right click on the pattern and select flip horizontally. And now you see that the darker face are facing inside and the outside is brightly colored, which means that the wrong side of the fabric is on the inside and the right side is on the right side outside. It gets a little confusing, but just remember, this is the rule of thumb. If it's behind, flip it and put it behind you. So that's what you need to do. So now that we have our fabric in position ready to be sewn, it's time for us to get a sewing. So to sew, you just select this button right here, and it's called segment sewing. There is free sewing, but don't even look at it. You can't handle that kind of power. So you're going to stay with a nice, safe segment sewing. So resist the temptation to use free sewing. But if you're wild and dangerous, go ahead. But I warned you, stay with the safe one. Segment. So we're going to select our segment sewing, and you're just going to hover your mouse on the edge of the garment, and then you're going to click. And then you're going to take this and go to the other edge of the other part, the back side of the garment, and then click it. If you do it right, you'll see a bunch of colored lines going from one edge to the other. Don't worry if your lines are a different color than mine. Marvel's Designer generates it randomly, so even if mine's are red and yours are blue, you're doing it right. Now, the one thing we want to do note about our seam lines that have to be the same is that we want to make sure that our lines are straight. If your lines are crooked like this, then you have done something very bad and you have to redo this. Now, the reason why we don't want our lines to be crooked is because this is the data that's telling Marvelous Designer what to do. So basically, in a nutshell, it's like, see these straight lines? That's telling Marvelous Designer take this edge and that edge and pull it together and sew it. But when they're crooked like this, that's telling Marvelous Designer take this edge and that edge and then twist it up in the middle. And then your garment will start fighting each other because it's trying to stay twisted, and it can ruin your whole day. Now normally you could just press Control Z and undo your lines and then make a nice straight one. But in some instances, you may notice that your lines are twisted and you can't press Control Z and fix it. So if you find yourself in that position, you just need to select this right here, the Edit Seams button next to the Segment Sewing button. Right click on your seam line that's crooked and do Reverse Seam Line, and it'll straighten your lines out for you. So let's try to get good practice in and making a bunch of nice straight lines. So go to the edge, click, go to the other edge and click. It's opposite edge and sew where you want it to sew. Remember, we're telling Marvelous Designer we want these to sew together, these to come together, this to come together. Whoopsie daisy. Now you don't want to sew the armhole up because we kind of need our arm to go through that. So don't sew it. Just sew underneath the arm, but not the actual armhole. And another thing you want to do is make sure that your pattern is pretty close to the body. The closer it is, the better the simulation will go. Because it dramatically goes in the air and goes down, and sometimes it will slide down the body, and then you'll end up with your shirt going through it like this. But you don't want it so close that your body is going through it, otherwise, your body will be through the shirt. So close, but not too close. So like that. So once it's there, in a good position, we're just going to press the play button, and boom, we have a t-shirt. Now if you find that you got some nip slips, don't really worry about it. You can click on it and pull it and push it through, and that'll do it as well. Or you can leave it be, and then we could just puff it out in Blender, and that's also a solution. But if it really drives you crazy, there's two other options you can do if pulling on the fabric doesn't get your nips in. So option one is you could increase your particle distance. That's something you could do. So it's at 20 right now. I can switch it to 15, and sometimes that helps making it a little more smoother. Not the case. So let's put it back. We can try making the shirt not as tight on that side, giving it a little more fabric, then pulling it, and see? It's not going. Or we can right click on the avatar and go into avatar properties and turn the skin offset up a little bit. A little more. Oops, wrong thing. Avatar properties. Alright, maybe 5. Alright, so that could be a solution as well. But remember, it's got a little bit of offset, so your clothes may have a little bit of a gap away from you. But, your nipples ain't showing through, so that's always a plus plus. And that's one of the solutions. But we could also fix it in Blender and just puff it out or pull it out. So really, it's nothing to really cry over. No spilled milk. Another thing that I was talking to you about before was the collar. I forgot about the collar. If you don't like how this triangular dip is in your neck, you could just select the dot, press delete, and we go to our old friend add a curve, and then just pull it down, and it gives you a more rounded kind of t-shirty collar there. And the same thing for your back if you want to add that in there. So that's how you make a t-shirt. Pretty simple, nice and smooth, yeah? Alright, so we have that. We can put this aside for a second. And now we're going to try to make a pair of pants. And this is going to go over our 15-minute mark, so be prepared for that. Alright, so like our pants, we're going to start and select our edit pattern. So you select it, and you want to start with how high you want your pants to be. I'd like to make my waist a little bit higher, only because we have a lot of butt back there to cover. So high-waisted pants are kind of my thing. So again, we're going to be at the center fold, and I'm going to stop center line, and I'm going to go there. We're going to stop at the crotch, and we're going to make a backwards L, and then drag it down to how long you want your pants to be and how tight you want them to be against the leg. Stop them there. Then you go over across from that, then up against the hip, then up here, and then back to the first dot. Whoops. Press pause and make sure your clothes don't fall off into the world. If you find you got a little bit of a wrinkly pattern here, just right click it and hit rearrange pattern, and it'll straighten back out. Now like before, it's blindingly white, so I'm going to add some color to it. There we go. Now, just like we did with the t-shirt, you're going to select the white arrow, and you're going to select the middle, right click, and then unfold. And we're going to delete this middle dot that it created here, because that means it's less for us to sew. So once we have, and maybe the top too, why not? Get that out of here. So once we have our front, we can just click on it, copy, paste, and then we have a pair of pants. So we have our front and our back pattern. And like before with the t-shirt, we're going to click on the back and then flip it horizontally. And then put it behind our avatar. Now when it comes to pants and things, you kind of want to put it up a little bit higher, just a tiny smidge than what it needs to be. Because it's got to, again, it has to wrap around a lot of butt. And sometimes when it's doing that, it will drag down. So I always pull it up a little bit higher. And if they need to come down, you know, we can always pull them down later. It's better to pull down pants than pull up pants. I know that sounds a little raunchy, but that's how it is with sewing pants and Marvelous Designer. So we're going to get our stuff, get in here, get us sewing. Now, we can take the pattern and we can pull it out if you're having a hard time reaching between the legs and the avatar and stuff like that, because we need the crotch. So you just click and then go to that one and that one, making sure that's straight. As long as we push it back against the avatar when we're done, that's all that matters. And I think we got all the lines. Whoops, wait, this up back. No. Nope. There we go. Turn it off. Don't need those. Alright, I think I'm missing a line in here. There we go. So that's all sewn together. So we'll just take this and put it back against the butt. That against here. Alright, and back there. And then we press play. So yeah, there we have our pants. So now we have our pants and stuff on our body, which is basically some really snazzy leggings. I actually like this combination. It's very nice. It's a good color scheme. I don't know if these match, but I feel good. Okay, so here's a little tip and trick that you need to know. When I was talking about layers before, Marvelous Designer has a layer system. You see how right now the pants, the t-shirt is tucked into the pants because we just put the pants on top of the t-shirt. Let's say we wanted the t-shirt to be on top and the pants to be underneath. You can do that by selecting the patterns that make up the t-shirt and then going over to your fabric in the properties editor, and then where you'll go all the way down to ECT and you see layer, you just press 1 and you see the shirt will pop out. So the higher the layer, the more on top the clothes are. The bottom, the less of the layer, the lower the clothes are underneath it. So the clothes go underneath it. So let me test that and show you again. Now the t-shirt is on top of the pants. And let's say we want to tuck the pants. We want the t-shirt to be tucked into the pants. So we just select the pants layer, go over pants pattern. Then we go to layer. And since the t-shirt is on layer 1, we're going to make the pants layer 2. And you see now the pants are on top and the t-shirt is underneath it. But we want the t-shirt to be outside. That's more trendy. Plus, I haven't made the baggy things yet. So we want that to be more trendy. So I'm just going to put it back on layer 0 and let the t-shirt be on top. So that's pretty much it when it comes to making your clothes. Now, another thing I had mentioned, I'm just going to turn off the simulation so I can move a little bit faster, is the unwrapping. So let's say we want to texture this later on, which we will. This is our UV map for the t-shirt. This t-shirt right here. I want to shift this a little bit and make that straight. As straight as I can get it. So also, you want to make sure that everything is neat and not overlapping like this. We want to make it, oops, stop it. We want to make it nice and neat and then give each part its own space. This is for a number of reasons. 1, it looks a little bit better when you're baking. And 2, in case you have to select your pattern individually, you have room to get in between here and Blender when you're trying to select your pattern. Which I'll talk more about when we get into texturing. But right now, congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. You just made a basic outfit in Marvelous Designer for the Ebody, and now we can export it from Marvelous Designer and go on to the next step, which is, attaching and rigging it. So let us begin the exporting process. Once you're done designing, we can start our exporting process by going to File, Export, OBJ. Ignore the whole garment. So we're going to go back to our project folder, and we're going to name this Basic Outfit. And it's going to bring you this window. You're going to check the M, and then you're going to select Unified UV Coordinates, remove collapsed triangles, and then uncheck the OBJ avatar shape. We only want the cloth shape thing selected inside here. Now it's going to be totally different in newer versions of Marvelous Designer, and I can't help you with that because I solely use Marvelous Designer 2. This is why I told you to download it. So yeah, once you have this done, just press OK, and it exports. Now you can create a little Marvelous Designer community for this body and swap out garments with people. If you want, or open up the project if you want to come back and make modifications to it without having to recreate all of this. So to save all of this work environment in Marvelous Designer, you can save it as a project file. So this time, just go to File, Save As, Project. Always save it as a project, never save it as a garment. If you save it as a project, it gives you the pattern, the clothes you made, and the model here, so you don't have to reopen all that stuff again. If you just save it as a garment, it'll just save the pattern, and then you got to put the avatar in here, and stuff might be missing. So yeah, always save it as a project. Can't stress it enough. So it's a project. We're going to just name this Basic Outfit. And you can give that to people and have them modify it and play around with it in Marvelous Designer with all your current settings. And it'd be nice to have a nice trading and community of creation for this body with Marvelous Designer. But anyway, now that we've done that, it's time to get back into Blender because we are now done with Marvelous Designer. So you can close this, and then I will meet you guys back in Blender where we'll begin our rigging process. So see you there.